There it is.
Live.
We are live. Hello, Quest Army. Thank you for joining us on this lovely question mark as he looks out the window. Lovely Saturday afternoon in Seattle. Unbelievably, and you'll have to forgive me for being so nervous this week, but Verlox the Darkness himself, Mr. Douglas Tait, has joined us. And as well as Douglas, I'm very proud to have Quest Army members Justine.
Hi.
Joy.
Hi.
Josh B.
Aloha.
Josh S.
Hey! Howdy.
Ron.
Hello, everyone.
And Will.
Hello.
And if you don't know who we are at this point, well, I can't blame you, because but I'm Josh. I'm Josh. This is Becca.
Hello.
And welcome to the Quest Army Hangout. And let's just Douglas, this is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You were really eager. I mean, there was a Twitter exchange 2-3 weeks ago, and it involved several people goading you to do one, and you were really nice about it and basically said, when can I do it? So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
hey, thank you. It's the least I could do for what you guys have been doing for the show and everything.
That means a lot to hear, because the show is just phenomenal, and you're such a huge part of it, and playing 3 key characters, 2 of which get their butts kicked. The Rana Chief survived. He went on and did amazing things.
Yes, he did.
So why don't we we'll go right into it, and why don't I start with Justine? Do you have a question for Doug?
Yes, I do. Okay, which Paladin would you choose to join Verlock's army?
Oh,
snap.
Well, when I first saw the Paladins, I beast. Oh my gosh. I'd have to say, because of the pure strength of that guy and his fighting ability, I would have to pick Shondo.
Yeah.
I would see him in Verlock's army too.
Okay.
Exactly.
Confession. One fan and I were actually talking about how he might actually be the traitor. He's gonna hate me. I'm sorry, Shondo. But we were privately messaging for like 4 episodes. It's Shondo. It has to be.
That would be an amazing twist if they brought a Paladin back in the 2nd season, and they were the traitor, and that was a reason for them to return to the show.
I'd hate it.
That would be great.
That would be funny, yeah.
Okay, Joy, how about you? Do you have a question for Doug?
I know you've done work in prosthetics before, and I'm curious about what role in prosthetics and crazy makeup is your favorite?
Well, I have to say the Quest is my favorite, but if I were to, if I had a second, it would be in Star Trek, the long face character. I don't know if you saw the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek, but it was such a small role that ended up being even bigger than it was, even though it was small. J.J. Abrams loved the character, and he used shots that weren't written in the script because he's like, oh my God, this is just so awesome, and he was just laughing the whole time, and just somebody of his stature, being such a cool, down-to-earth person. Now he's doing Star Wars, obviously. It was really a great experience, and I think it was one of those experiences where the makeup artist won the Academy Award, and it was the biggest makeup shown in the movie, so he used me and that character to kind of show in all the press and everything, so it got a lot of good attention for me too, which is another thing that makes it a very memorable experience. Nice. And then I was supposed to come back in the 2nd Star Trek, but it didn't. The scene got cut, so yeah, I would have to say that. And then obviously the Quest first. Verlock's #1.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do one of the Joshes. Josh B. Do you have a question?
I guess one of my questions would be, what is your dream role, with exception to Verlox, obviously? Like, what have you always wanted to play?
You know, I've always been a fan of Indiana Jones, you know, and if we were to be outside of, I'll answer in prosthetics or outside of prosthetics. Outside of prosthetics, Indiana Jones has always been, because, you know, I loved Harrison Ford in that role, and there was action in it, and I feel like I understand action and movement and stuff. Plus, there's also you know, showing acting chops. You know, he has scenes that are, you know, normal and real, and then it cuts to the big action stuff. So being able to do both in such a successful franchise like that would be a dream role. And then as far as in prosthetics, I've always been a fan of Frankenstein, and I played him several times. And it's kind of where I got my start in makeup, working at Universal Studios. That was the first character I played, and it kind of led to all of it. So Frankenstein's holds special place to me, and playing that in like a big feature film with like a Guillermo del Toro director or something would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Just saying, yay for Guillermo del Toro, awesome director.
Absolutely.
Fangirl.
Okay, Josh S. Mr. Smith, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. So this goes back to some of these scenes. Particularly, I've got two questions. One about the Rana Chief and one about Verlox. What was it like playing the Rana Chief and trying to get the impressions from the 4 remaining Paladins about why they wanted to continue the quest? And second, what was it like playing Verlox fighting Lena in the final battle?
The first question about the Rana Chief, it was really amazing as an actor to go into something where you have dialogue and then you don't know what's going to happen. And I love improv. I feel like it keeps you on your toes, and you're really engaged in listening, because if you're not listening, you're going to totally go off in a direction that doesn't make sense. Sometimes in film, you know, it's such a set, you're set in dialogue and what you're going to say, and sometimes your mind wanders. And with this, it keeps you so on your toes. So having them, you know, and seeing their reactions, and seeing, you know, the scene didn't go as it was planned. Like, I didn't know what they were going to say. They changed things up, and I had to go with that, and that was very exciting. Yeah. So that I loved, and then did that kind of answer your question on that one, or?
Kinda, yeah. Like a lot of it, and then it just like, how did it feel to kind of bring out the desires of the Paladins to be the one true hero? Like, because honestly, that was kind of the defining moment for the final 4, was facing the Rana Chief and TGV, and you know, and that line of questioning.
Yeah, you know, for me in the scene, it wasn't even like, it wasn't something that I was focused on. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna find the one true hero here. I'm gonna see if they can do it, even though that's the way it's written. It was basically just engaging with them, and it was written so that I don't accept anybody. It wasn't written where, oh, if somebody does something that I like, I'm going to accept them and they're going to pass. It's written that they're not going to get passed by me. They're going to get caged up. So I have to just follow that scene, even if it doesn't go in the same way, you know, the same dialogue that's written. That's what has to happen. So I wasn't focused on, oh, I'm going to find the one true hero here, even though as an audience member you see that, and that's what you know, that's what you want to feel like is going to happen. So it wasn't something for me trying to get the one true hero. unfortunately, I know you want to believe that, oh yeah, he's gonna find it in this pass, and somebody's gonna come out. Oh, they didn't. Nobody said the right thing to him. But yeah, that's kind of how it went. And then with Verlox, that end battle was the strangest thing out of the whole show because the whole time I was separate from these people. They never saw me unless it was on cameras were rolling. I never saw them unless the cameras were rolling. And obviously with a fight, you can't just wing a fight, especially somebody that's never fought before. So that was like the first time where we had to like go, okay, we got to rehearse this a little. And it kind of was a weird thing for me. I didn't like it because I wanted it to be so organic and real. But I really stayed in character the whole time. I did not like, hey, Lena, how's it going? Ready to fight? I was like, I had my back to her, you know, when she walked in. And then there's a picture, I don't know if you guys saw it, that she tweeted where it's the first time she sees me and somebody caught that on camera and her face is just like, what the hell? So I tried to keep that tension and you know, not really being a method actor, but the fact of the way it's gone the whole time. I didn't want to be, you know, like, hey, I'm Mr. Friendly here. We're going to fight. Let's do this. I wanted that same feeling they had before, which was very real. Like, you know, they're built up to fear me, and I wanted that same feeling in the fight, even though we had to rehearse and everything, so I didn't speak to her. But it was a little awkward, and it wasn't as cool as I thought, you know, as it would have been if we could have just done it with her seeing me for the first time in person like that, like the other scenes. But it had to be done.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Ron, do you have a question?
I do. So, in relation to Verlox, when Robert Englund put on the glove of Freddy Krueger, you know, in a documentary, he mentions that the weight of the glove kind of moved one arm down, and so he kind of like walked with this slump, and that's what kind of inspired him for the movements of Freddy Krueger. So during the makeup process, were there any pieces that kind of inspired you, like this is how I should move, or this gives me a better idea of who this character is?
Absolutely. That's funny you say that because I did the scenes in Freddy vs. Jason, and it was the 10-year reunion last year, and we were at a convention, all of us, Robert Englund, me, and the cast, and he actually mentioned that when we did a big panel, and he said that whole walk into the side with the glove was all based off him with the weight of the glove, and that's exactly what happens with me. Like each character, I could kind of come up with the look and say, oh, this guy should talk like this or move like this, but a lot of it is based off when I first get in it and feel the weight of something or feel the way the prosthetic moves, because each prosthetic moves totally differently than others, you know. The Rana Chief moved different than Verlox moved, so having that time to experience that definitely happened with Verlox, you know. Like I noticed I was looking at myself in the mirror, and the way the laugh of him, I felt like it's even creepier and more evil if he was smiling, you know. That's something that I came up with when I was in the makeup, you know. Instead of him just always, you know, angry, the smile is creepy, like, hey, you can't mess with me. I got you. I'm laughing at you, you know. And the way it looked as it smiled, all that stuff, a lot of that I came up with, you know, while I was in the makeup. So it definitely does inspire you. And it did as Verlox, for sure. And then the muscles and everything being bent over, which like the Rana Chief wouldn't have worked. So it was very, you know, very regal and, you know, straight and stuff. So that was all based off the sculpt and the look of the character.
I kind of a follow up with that. So did they like Mike Elizalde or like the writers? Did they give you any background information about Verlox's history, or like maybe like who he was before?
They had a Quest Bible. I don't know if any of you ever got to see that. I don't know if they would want to release it, but I have it, and it basically was the whole story and background of Everrealm. They didn't go too much into Verlox, but they did mention how he was, you know, brother to the Fates, and he wanted all the power, and he didn't feel like he was getting enough, and so that's why he went off and created his own army, and the army of evil. Yeah, there was a lot of background written. They really invested time in this show, as you saw in the production, which helps as an actor too, like to get to know, like instead of coming up with everything, to go, wow, okay, so that's the reason this, and I'm gonna base this off that, and then having the makeup tell you things. It's a lot of good info for me.
Thanks.
For sure.
Will, do you have a question for Doug?
Yes, actually, it ties into what Ron was just asking about as far as the background of Verlock. In the event that we get season 2, would you want Verlock to come back as kind of a redeemed villain that's now part of the fate structure?
Whoa.
You cut out for a second. Can you say that question again?
Okay. So Verlox is brother to the Fates.
Yeah.
In season 2, would you want to bring the character back, redeemed, and now as a fourth Fate?
No. I think that Verlox is definitely. I think he's even angrier now, and I wouldn't want him to be a Fate and go on that side helping the Paladins. I think that he's angrier than ever could be. Never thought that he could have been defeated by anybody, let alone a girl Paladin. Who's like half his size, so it's kind of a slap in his face. And I think that he's going to come back stronger. He's smart, so he's going to have even a better plan than he thought he had before. And I see it as some serious stuff happening with him. I mean, his army's going to be stronger. He's going to recruit. And I couldn't imagine him as a Fate, you know, maybe 20 seasons down the road or something, but not right now. And you need that conflict too. You need that conflict. You need something that they're fighting against, you know, or they'd have to come up with a new villain. And Verlox is so cool, you know, it'd be hard to beat, I think.
All right.
Awesome. Rebecca.
Okay, well, one of them I was wondering about was, since you got the chance to play Verlox, the Rana Chief, and Ogres, did you have a favorite out of those three?
Yeah, definitely Verlox was a favorite. The Ogre is a tough one, man. I mean, physically. And I don't know if I've mentioned this. I've mentioned this in articles, but when we were shooting the Ogre, you know, being that this isn't a movie where there's can be somebody, you know, sitting off with a chair with a fan with me, and you know, feeding me water. I mean, I literally had to be in that head, which is a heavy animatronic head and a heavy suit, for over an hour before I even started to do my thing in it. And if you've ever been in an animatronic head, it's not like being in a mask. You know, like I could sit in a mask all day long and I'd be fine. Animatronic head is, you literally have all these servos and wires, and you're hooked in. It takes about 5-10 minutes to get it on because they got to hook all the batteries and everything. And then you have all this stuff around, and then you're so tight around, and then you have the big old fur and head, and having to sit in that thing on a hot night waiting for them, dying without anybody really to be there to like fan me or whatever. It was insane. I mean, literally, I thought I was going to pass out. And then I had to like get my mind straight and go, if I don't get through this and go, this whole take is going to be ruined because we only have one chance. So then when I got out there and did my thing and I dragged the guy and I was like literally so
Sebastian.
out of breath, it was insane. And then after that, they're like, "Oh, we want you to go back. We want you to go down," and because some stuff was coming up, like on the spot. It's like they ran away and then they were hiding in those things. I didn't get a break. I had to go down this long path to get to them, literally dying. So it was a tough one. So I prefer like prosthetics and stuff, like the Rana Chief in Verlox, but I know I went off on a tangent, but I just thought it's an interesting story. But definitely Verlox was my favorite for sure.
That's awesome. And actually, just to tack on to the end of that, I mean, it was they were pretty grueling temperatures, right? I mean, it was above 100.
That was the hottest. Yeah, that was the hottest it had been. Like right when I got there, it was literally so humid and so hot that night. And then it got a little cooler as the weeks went on. But that night, I remember it being. I mean, people were sweating out of costume. It wasn't a cool night. I mean, there were some mosquitoes everywhere. It was a tough one to get through.
I mean, especially in the ogre costume, how were you staying hydrated?
There was a girl off to the side, and she had Actually, I posted a picture of me sucking through a straw in the Rana Chief. I don't know if you guys saw it, but that girl, that same girl was the one. She was there, and she had a straw for me, but we couldn't have a fan on or anything like that because the fan is what actually really helps and cools you down. So my core was just heating up beyond belief. Like it was one of those mental. It's like it's not only a physical thing; it's a mental thing. I had to really put my mind in a different place because I could have, you could freak out because it's not like a mask where you could just tear it off. I need like 3 people to try to get me out of that thing. And when your core is heating up and you feel like oh my god, man, and then on top of it, you can't get out of it. It can like drive you mad, So.
Jeez.
So it was insane, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But it looks great.
It looks phenomenal.
That's what was upsetting too, because since it was the first episode, I did so much stuff in there, and because they were introducing everybody, it was just like a quick blip, you know. And then when they showed like the behind the scenes online, you got to see a lot more of what I was doing. But when I first saw it, I go, "Are you kidding me? I was in the head for like 2.5 hours, and that's all you show? I almost died." And then they released online. I said, "Okay, that's better."
I think I'm, speaking for the rest of the Quest Army and just all fans. We would have loved to have seen more of that. We really would have.
Yes.
And behind the scenes too, we would have loved to have seen, more of the, what went into the effects and.
Oh yeah.
And all of that. I mean, we're so hungry to learn more, and that's partially why we do this. And
I mean, there's so much behind the scenes golden stuff that would be so interesting. I mean, I think anybody, even not a fan of the show, would like to see it because I mean, they were literally doing everything to hide cords and wires and things to make it so believable and real. I mean, it was such an amazing production, and there's just so much golden moments. And I didn't see everything, and I'm just speaking from what I saw. There was some amazing stuff behind the scenes that you would love to see for sure.
Okay, before we do another round of questions, I'm actually going to turn to Twitter. Stacy Carpenter at Session Diva has a great question. She wants to know, is it your voice as the Rana Chief or Verlox? They didn't dub that right. That is you, Verlox.
No, what they did is they added filters on it. They added filters to my voice, I guess. I didn't know they were going to do that. I mean, when I first saw it, I go, oh, man, they didn't use my voice. But then, Verlox is such a scary character that I think if it was my voice, without any filter or something, it would have taken, you know, it wouldn't have been as powerful. So I understand that. The Rana Chief, I did a totally different voice, and they also kind of, I think they added a little something on that too, not as much as Verlox, but yeah, those were my that was my voice for sure. I just, you know, obviously changed it up from what you're hearing now. Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
why don't we go? Why don't we
And
go?
the Ogre was my growls too.
Oh, really?
No, just kidding. But I was doing that inside the head. I was going. It gets me in character. You gotta do that.
I just have to say you're a lot less scary than you are on the show.
Oh yeah. I ruined the illusion, man. I ruined it for you now.
Oh, that's okay. Someday maybe I'll be a paladin and can face off you.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Let's go back round. Just saying. Do you have another question?
Yes. I want to know what were you doing in between? Well, when you were not on set, because you were not being filmed all the time, you were not in all the episodes. So what were you doing during that time?
I have to say that I spent like so much time exercising. I mean, I literally went to the gym like 2 times a day for like several hours at a time. So I spent a lot of my time doing that. I did get a chance to, you know, walk around and do that. So that was cool. But most of my time was spent in the gym. You know, my wife was like, "Why are you going to the gym so much? You're in Vienna." I'd be roaming the streets. I'd be going everywhere. I just felt like I just wanted to focus. You know, it kept me focused on my role, and you know, the exercise definitely helped with you know, doing the Ogre to keep fit and stuff. And I wanted to see movies, but they were all the theaters were in German, so I couldn't do that. So yeah, that was most of my time was actually spent. I know that's kind of boring, but that's the truth.
Thank you.
Awesome. Joy, do you have another question?
I know from what other people have said, you were a fair distance away from the Paladins when you made your first appearance as Verlox. But were you able to see much of their reactions to that?
Oh. Did we lose Douglas briefly?
We may have.
We may have.
There's a floating head.
He apparated elsewhere.
Okay.
Hey.
You hear me?
Oh.
Oh, there you are.
There he is.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
What
Okay.
happened?
I don't know. It said my network is experiencing difficulties, so.
Oh no. Did you hear Joy's question before you got cut off?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Oh, the question was, I've heard just from the interviews with some of the other some of the Paladin stuff. I know you were a fair distance away from them when you appeared as Verlox, but were you able to see any of their reactions to that?
You know, I didn't actually see their reactions. Like I couldn't see their face very well, but I could tell by the body language that there was definitely stuff going on. It was really powerful. Like I felt like, you know, I had that rush, and it gave me the chills. You know, being there. I'm even getting it now because everything was practical in real time. I mean, there was no CGI added to the cracking of the castle. So being, you know, putting my hand on that pillar, and they didn't show this, but I'm walking down the steps too, and all the steps were cracking too. They cut away from that. I mean, there was even more to that. So it was really amazing. And then to top it all off,
Extended version.
yeah, I know. So to top it all off, there was obviously the fight, my army fighting, and let me tell you, these guys are the real deal. I mean, they go around fighting in this medieval gear, like they have real swords and real armor, and they were pounding the crap out of each other. So you were hearing the deflection of their armor so loud, and I was even further away, and I was feeling the hits. So I know the Paladins being right there in front of that and seeing that and then feeling that, it felt very real. You know? Now seeing the show and seeing like seeing the reactions from Andrew and stuff, it was pretty cool, man. I mean, that was real reactions. You know, I was built up to that point, and then all of a sudden they're like, what is that? And then, you know, the Queen says who it is. It was cool, man. It was awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Okay, Josh B, do you have a second question?
I do. I guess I'll go with another role question here. Have you ever wanted to play the good guy, like, you know, like a dad that makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something like that?
You know, I have played a lot of good characters. I think that when you know, my height, I'm 6'5", whatever that is in meters, I forget, but you know, and then the fact that I'm kind of built a name playing characters in makeup. It's usually not a nice guy. It's usually the scary thing that comes out. But if you look at my YouTube channel, you can see some pretty funny commercials of me as Bigfoot, you know, where I'm, you know, you hear my voice and I'm improving a little. But I don't get cast for dad roles. I guess the look is not like, oh, shaved head tall, he's not a dad, even though I am a dad. You kind of go based off your look, you know. I get cast in military stuff out of prosthetics as military cop, you know, tough guy, whatever. I'm sure in the future I'll be able to play things like that, you know, the more I establish myself and whatever. But no dad roles right now.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh S, do you have a second question?
Well, you know, I did, but I'm going to change it after that portion. So what was it like? Because I'm assuming that your family had to stay behind to wherever you actually live. So what was it like being apart from your family for that month, however long you were filming?
You know, I've
Especially
actually
as a dad.
last year I left the country 3 times. I was in China, Austria for that, and then also South Africa. So,
wow.
You know, it makes it a little harder for the wife to do things, but but the bottom line is, if the bills are getting paid and money's coming in, then she's all good with it, you know. And that's the same with me. When you're getting like really good opportunities to do amazing work, I mean, yeah, I'm gone for a little, but you know what? When I'm home, I'm home. You know, I'm involved much more than most people that have 9-to-5 jobs that are gone all day. So I make up for it big time being home. You know, and that's kind of the actor's life. So it works fine.
Cool. Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
sure.
Way to go, dads.
Yes. Yes.
Ron, do you have another question?
I do. So anyway, obviously I'm kind of fascinated with your design of Verlock. So I was just curious, you know, like the horns, are they meant to be a crown? And then does he actually have legs? Because I know they're limited with
Thank you.
So, you know, obviously it looks like some type of skirt, but, you know, is it meant to be like Mist of Darkness where he's just like kind of floating in the air?
I was wondering the same.
No, he actually has legs, and I guess because it's kind of like a tree-like, where all that is covering his legs. Because if he was like that kind of character, they would have put me on a wire and had me float around a little.
Okay.
But yeah, I know it's totally hidden, and you wouldn't want to see it anyways because I was wearing shorts and, you know, and boots. So it wouldn't have been too cool to have a little upskirt of me. Yeah. But yeah, it was really a really neat design how they did it, how they, kept the, tied in the little vines, and then it went into my chest, down my into the skirt, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we didn't see very many I guess shots from behind, except that one in the intro of the silhouette of Verlock. So I mean, are the horns because I guess Verlock chose his own appearance after the rendering.
Yeah.
So I mean, is it supposed to be like a crown? Like I'm a, like he kind of made himself a king, and this is the crown I'm going to wear.
That's a good observation. I actually never thought of that. The way I saw it was he's kind of like your demon, and I saw it as horns, but it could have well be a crown. It's never really been explored, actually. That's a good thought. I just saw it as like a demon horns, like he's basically the devil of Elverealm, so.
Well, the black eyes help with that too, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's a good observation. I got to ask Mike about that because he did the design, so.
Yeah, interesting. Let us know the answer.
Interesting what his thought on that is. Yeah, for sure.
Right, thank you.
Did you guys see the Verlock's costume?
What?
Did you see
the
Verlock's
little kid that had
costume?
the Verlox costume? That was awesome.
Yeah,
No.
it was really good.
It's only the beginning.
Yes, I hope, man. I want to see masks next year.
Okay, Will, do you have another question?
I did, but a lot of the questions I had kind of written up have been asked, so I'm gonna let it go to the next person.
Okay, absolutely, understood. Becca, I'm relying on you.
Well, I'm actually going to ask one that was asked on Google Plus, which was asked by Neve, and they wanted to know what happened to Sebastian.
Sebastian was he was a funny guy. He's like a parkour guy. He was a stuntman, parkour guy. So he was like, just hit me hard. I'm like, really? Are you sure? This arm is heavy. And then when I actually did the take, I hit him so hard that I think it knocked the wind out of him because I heard. But Sebastian went off, and he's actually in other scenes in armor. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yes, you see him fighting. He was a part of the production. He was well liked. He's a good guy.
Sebastian lives.
Sebastian lived. Wasn't an ogre snack, as I made you believe or you believed. He does live, and he ends up doing more stuff and helping out the stunt coordinator throughout the show. And he got his, his 30 seconds of fame. But yeah, it was very difficult for me to drag him too, because obviously I didn't have my hands, so I had to bend down and like get into like get my elbow and my arm around him while like trying to play the scene. It was quite a difficult thing to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is.
I'm gonna turn to Twitter once again for a question. This is from Judith, and she would actually like to know: do you enjoy or regret that people don't necessarily recognize you as the characters, the monsters that you often play? Is there any regret with that, or do you just love it?
The only regret of that would be the people that hiring me may not know who I am, because those are the ones that I want to know. I mean, if people on the street don't know my name or know who I am, but they know my characters, I mean, that's not too big a deal to me. But when you go in and, to a casting or meet a producer and they don't know your work or whatever, that's kind of like, whereas if it was something where my face was shown on a lot of the movies I've done or shows, it'd be like, oh yeah, you were in that movie and that, that would be the kind of downside to it. It's really interesting when I go to conventions or things, and then some people know I'm there and they've looked me up or they've seen my stuff or follow me, and then others will go and I'll have a banner. They'll go, "No way, you played that guy and that guy? Did you do that one?" "Yeah, these are all me." "No way." So they kind of piece things together and go, "Wow, I love that movie, and I didn't know that was you, and you did this, and I love that." So it's kind of neat to get that kind of reaction. But if it doesn't happen on, when I'm with my kids at the supermarket, I'm cool with it. But I want the people that hire me to know who I am.
No, understandable.
Yeah.
Okay, I've actually got one question for me. What was just one of your favorite moments of the entire production? Just an event or a little funny story, anything. What was your favorite moment?
Favorite moment. Wow, there were several really amazing moments. I mean, just the scene we spoke about when, the Verlox, when it's been built up so much the first time I came out, it was exhilarating. It was like, wow, I am the king of this kingdom and I am feared, and you felt it, and that was amazing. Part of the show and moment. There was one funny moment that happened, and I did talk about this before or mention it in a tweet or something, when Jim was in the bathroom and I had no idea that they were around, and I was in my Verlox makeup and I come out of the stall and he literally crapped his pants. I mean, I honestly didn't know who he was at the time, because I didn't really do, like, they gave me pictures of everybody and said, "Here's the Paladins," but I kind of wanted it to be a surprise. I didn't really want to invest time seeing who they were or whatever. So I didn't know who it was, but he later said that, I mean, I remember his face, his reaction was pretty scared. He later said that I scared him the crap out of him. Like, he could not believe that we were in the stall in the bathroom together. So that was pretty funny.
That's awesome. Okay, before we mix it up, does anyone have another question? Just raise your hand. Ron, you have another question. Go for it.
This is actually in regards to the Ogre. So the scene between the Ogre and Sir Ansgar, how much was that, on the fly? How much was staged? And then were you concerned that the Paladins were actually going to get the Scorpion put together and hit an arrow in you?
Well, that was always like a fear from the beginning. Like, even from the first scene as the Ogre, it was like, oh my God, man. They were telling me, look, if any of these guys come after you, like, we'll have somebody interject, because that was always a worry, because we didn't know if somebody was going to try to be a hero or try to go after and fight or whatever. So on that particular scene, I knew that the Scorpion wasn't going to get built, because it was designed for them not to be able to put it together. Unfortunately, to ruin that for you, but we did rehearse, actually, that scene. We rehearsed out of the costume, then rehearsed in the costume before we shot it. So we did know that there was what we were going to do, and I kind of went a little soft when we were rehearsing, but when it was time rolling, I really did bash the crap out of him. I really did grab him hard and toss him. And then the funny thing about that scene is Sir Ansgar, Peter, great guy, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so tired." I'm like, "How dare you say that right now? I'm in an ogre suit." That was when we were rehearsing. He's out of breath, and here I am, like, 75 pounds on me. I could hardly breathe, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so tired." But then also there was what I was a little worried about more than that. Not worried, but when I was after the fight, it was planned that the Paladins were going to walk right by me, and I was like, oh, I don't want them to see something that would ruin the image. Not that it would, because it looks pretty awesome. up close, but I mean, if they look right into it, they might hear the servos move. But I don't think they ended up passing me. They decided to take me out before, but it was planned for them to come walk down when I'm laid out on the gurney. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've done this every week so far, and this week is no exception. Doug, do you have any questions that we as representatives of the Quest Army can answer?
Yeah, my main question is, and I'm sure you spoke about this, but I haven't heard it in person, is what connected you to this show? Like, what made you go, because I'm sure that you guys haven't, been this vocal and this much, putting so much time into trying to talk about a show and get it to get picked up again. I mean, what drew you to get that passionate about this show?
That is an awesome question. Guys, if you have an answer, please raise your hands and I'll just call on you. Well, perfect. What do you got?
Okay, so the thing that I really like right from the first episode of the series, I've always been into immersive shows where, especially like a reality competition like this, that people get really into their roles. A couple of years back, there was another show where they played survivors of a post-apocalyptic scenario, and they had to go through and build contraptions to supply power and all this. And it ran 2 seasons, which I felt was 2 seasons too little. It really did more. And looking at something like this show and how everybody just kind of gets into the roles and really, I could do the same thing. If I could take a month off from my job and just go out into the woods and just beat up, ogres, and I'd be there in a heartbeat, because I've done it as a kid. I've gone out and with wooden sticks with sword fighting, and then even as an adult doing live action role play. So it's really just a fun thing to watch, and I think we need more of that on TV than things like Who Wants to Date the Next Millionaire.
Yeah, and it's also a show that against each other in a negative way. It was the only, very rare that a reality show is supporting each other. Most of them are tearing each other down. I mean, it's based off, the whole premise is to do that. So yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks, Will. Anyone else? Joy.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a little bit of a long answer, but I will do my best to keep it short. Basically, okay, so I never saw any ads for the show, ever. Some of that maybe because I don't own a TV, but I watch a lot of shows on Hulu, so I'm a little surprised I didn't ever see any ads. I found out about it because I follow Mark Ordesky on Twitter, because I'm a Lord of the Rings fanatic.
Wow.
And when I did start seeing the ads, I was like, oh, this looks awkward, and I don't know, man, reality and mixing with the geek world, that has a potential to go so bad. But I decided, okay, you know what, I'm gonna give it a chance. And I sat down and I was watching it actually at an RPG weekend. I have a group of friends that we've been friends since college, and we had an RPG campaign that just wrapped up. It lasted 4 years.
Whoa.
And we would go up to my friend's apartment in Santa Barbara and just game all weekend. And so I was watching this before anyone else got up. And it got to the moment when everyone saw the castle. And I thought, oh, okay, this is actually, okay, kind of cool. And then there was a great moment when they're doing the scorpions with the arrows and everything. And they're getting mud rained down on them, and I think Adria said something like, so we're there, trying to shoot these arrows, and we're under fire, which is awesome. And I thought, this is actually showing geeks the way that I know geeks.
Yeah.
It's showing you a diversity of people, diversity of ages, diversity of sizes, of everything. And I thought, this is what geekdom looks like when I go to cons. This is what my Star Wars club looked like in college. And these were people who were not just having fun with the game, which they were. I mean, everyone was obviously aware it was a game, but they're treating it like a story, like they actually have to be heroes. and B, they were getting into it the way you do in an RPG or a LARP or something like that, and they were shedding self-consciousness enough to actually live out a story. And I just never seen that on TV before, and it got me so excited because it's just it presented geekdom the way that I experience it, and that's shockingly rare.
Cool.
No, that's awesome. No, I feel the same way, Joy. Anyone else? Throw your hand up.
Guess I'll say something.
Josh, go ahead.
Yeah. I guess the overall thing for me was, of course, I think the fantasy element was awesome. I mean, I love fantasy stuff, so that was just, when I saw the previews for it, I was like, I gotta watch this show. Of course, the reality part of it was kind of like, reality, you know, I think most people have that feeling about it, but one thing I loved about it was just the positivity. Like, I think Doug said it earlier, kind of, there wasn't much negativity in this. I mean, everybody was, you know, with each other. They were all on the same team kind of thing. Well, with the exception of when nobody stood behind Letitia, but that's that was my only complaint. But overall, like I said, I just really thought it was awesome that it was such a positive show, and everybody in it was, you know, nobody was bad-mouthing anybody. So to me, that spoke a lot, and you know, like I said, it was just an awesome show. So
yeah.
Cool. Absolutely. Anyone else? Just saying. Josh S.
Yeah, I can share.
Okay. Go ahead, just saying.
Well, first my husband talked about that show, and I was like, "Where's that show? It's gonna be lame for sure. I'm not gonna like it." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm sure you'll like it." And I was like, "No, you don't know me at all." And I began to watch it, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I want to be in that show so bad. And it's the first time I want to be in a show on TV, you know, and not that kind of person. But I found it so cool that I really want to be in that show. So I want another season. I want many other seasons. So I have a chance to be there with other Paladins.
Yeah, I think that was the consensus from everybody watching, that they saw themselves being able to go and do that and be a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ron, Josh S., either of you?
Oh, well, I feel like most people have already echoed my sentiments, is that, I mean, it's a positive show. The contestants were there to find the one true hero. There wasn't, you know, plotting. There wasn't any malicious device used. I mean, if you want to say Christian was being sneaky with the whole you know, battering ram challenge. But even then, you know, all the contestants or the Paladins afterwards were, you know, like, they still love them. So it's like, obviously there's a camaraderie there that, you know, I haven't seen in any other type of show. And so obviously I think their friendships that developed really affected how, you know, the show overall was portrayed. So just a lot of positive things to say about it that you don't really see on TV too often these days. So,
especially in reality.
Yeah, especially in reality.
Okay, Josh S., do you have anything?
Yeah, you know, for a lot of you know my story, and so you know that I was at a really low place emotionally and physically, and so with this show airing, and with a lot of the contestants not being the strongest, not being the fittest, you know, it, like, to me, I could relate to those, and because it was this immersive fantasy world that I dream of, and I write, you know, fantasy, and so, you know, like, for me, when I write my Aletheia novels, I live in the world with these characters, you know, and so, you know, so it was such a delight to see that on screen, and to be done so well and to be done so positively that I can actually sit with my toddler daughter and watch a few challenges together, and there's no concern about there being, like, you know, such bad language or, you know, something extreme and that she can't see, but that she actually gets to see people being heroes, women being heroes, which is going to be big for her, and guys being heroes. I mean, this is like, I love it. And so, though I do have a disability, my hope is that someday I will be over the disability, so by season 3 or 4 of the quest, maybe I can try out. So, we'll see. So, and if not, then just to be participate with all of you wonderful people. And so, and as has been said so often by Jane, by Mark, by Lena, by others, Shondo even, like, it's about dreaming and about dreaming big and about not being afraid to go after your dreams, no matter what that may look like. And, having my dreams taken from me and fighting to get them back, and it's nobody's fault but a virus, like, I get that. So, yeah.
Cool.
So that was really powerful.
Well said.
Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you, Josh. Becca.
I think for me, Joff, I have actually said this more than once. We didn't even hear any of the advertisements, anything about the show, until a friend of ours told us about it. And it had actually already started to air.
I think we were 4 episodes
about
in.
4 episodes in. And then we, we're like, okay, well, we'll just give it a shot and just see what it's like. And we were both very pleasantly surprised.
I think we caught up on those 4 episodes in 2 nights.
Yeah. And we were just kind of laughing about it because we're like, okay, this is completely, something we would be interested in. Why isn't the network trying to promote it? And then we realized there was this huge community around it too. And
yeah, finding the Quest Army was just a huge surprise.
That was.
We haven't loved a show this much before.
Yeah.
So we haven't been involved in fan communities. We haven't done this.
But I would also say that one of the things that was a nice surprise about it was to realize the executive producers, the people who are behind making this, in the same way that they gave, you're now mentioning, that they gave you guys a Bible of notes talking about the show, that they were so involved with this project and so invested in it themselves that they made it even though they had no need to make it.
Yeah, they didn't need to make it.
They didn't have any, it wasn't they weren't making it going, we're going to be hugely, successful.
It wasn't done to be,
yeah,
it wasn't done for them, it was done for the project.
It was done, for the sake of the project, and that is
Rob and Mark and Jane, and they've all said that, this has been in the works for, well, over a decade. I mean, they've been dreaming of this.
Yeah.
And it's, to have that be kind of the piggybacked point after watching the show, that it was having contestants that were supporting each other and that were trying to help each other to reach a common goal. And yes, they were following a storyline. No, it's not real, but it is a story that they're all participating in and making it real.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was, just the immense amount of respect and the interaction, but especially to realize that this project did not have to be made.
Nope.
They did not have to do it at all. And
Yeah.
the fact that they gave so much to so many people, including the actors,
Yep.
and then now giving the fans by interacting. And
well, that's what's amazing about the Quest Army. The Quest was phenomenal, but the Quest Army is just incredible because the Quest Army is made up of the EPs, the cast, the crew,
exactly.
The contestants, the Paladins, and then the fans. And it's just one giant family. And I love that. Everyone has been so giving and so kind. Project Hero was a huge success.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talking about doing that again next year, but also monthly. Otherwise, just doing a little bit more every day or whenever you can think of it. So it's a huge inspiration, and I can go on for another several hours and different.
The best word that I can actually use for it is hope. Because when you're bombarded by negativity so much and people are dealing with so many things that are just hard, it's nice to see something where it's reinforcing the positive, because it makes you remember, oh yeah, you know, I'm not just relying on myself, or that there's other people who feel the same way. And it's kind of nice to have that, and it's so surprising to have it be brought out because of a reality show.
I know.
What?
Great, though. Great.
Yeah, it is.
And you know what? We've hit our hour. Doug, I just want to turn it back to you. You know, just in case you have anything else to say to us or to the viewers. But I just, before I do, I just wanted to say thank you so much once more for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. I've really enjoyed this. This has been great. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Really great.
You know, I want to
Drink
make
to you, sir.
I want to make it clear, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime you just want to hang out with the Quest Army, and we don't even have to do it on air. We can keep these off air and just informal. But the Quest Army, you know, the Verlox Army. Anytime. It's just been an absolute pleasure. And okay, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jacinth, Joy, Josh B, Josh S, Ron, Will. Thank you so much, Doug. This has been an absolute pleasure. I'm thrilled that we're doing this, and we're going to keep doing it as long as people are interested. This has been another Quest Army Hangout. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, people. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.